Hello everybody to another episode of Autogefühl. A warm welcome from Thomas here from Cologne in Germany. You can see the River Rhine flowing in the background, and also the famous Cathedral of Cologne is visible at the horizon. But we are not going to Cologne today to make a shipping crossing across the Rhine, but to show you the new Renault Twingo, la troisième génération. Sorry, it's a French car, but I'm going back to English. The third generation of the French subcompact car in the A segment class. We all know the very first Twingo, presented in 1992. It was the darling of everybody. I think especially the women loved the car with his smiling face, or the baby face, and its semicircular headlights. It was also a very practical car with its mono-volume one-box design, like a tiny Renault Espace in fact. That car was built 2.5 million times, and it was only discontinued in 2007 when the second generation Twingo came around the corner. And with some disappointment, I have to say, also from us journalists. The car was very much mainstream in its design. It was not at all as bold as the first Twingo. It became a little bit better when it got a facelift, the car. You might recall that with these four headlights. It was one of the first works of the new chief designer Laurens Vandenacker. And I think that the second generation Twingo was acceptable after this facelift. In the end, Renault sold 871,000 units of the second generation. And now comes the third generation, and two main differences here. First, it's the first Twingo only available with 5 doors. The old car was only a 3-door all the time. Here we have now 5 doors, as you can see later. And the second one is a technical aspect, and it's quite a revolution. Very funny. I mean, I thought rear-wheel drive cars, BMW, okay, but cars with the engine in the back are old-fashioned. I mean, actually the last Renault with an engine in the back was the Renault 8 from 1973, followed shortly afterwards by the Renault 10. So here we have another little Renault with the engine in the back, and that has a technical background and corporate background, because Renault and Nissan and Daimler AG from Germany, they agreed on a small car project with the new Twingo and the smart forfour sharing the same platform. And both cars are built at the same factory as well, in Novo Mesto, a Renault plant in Slovenia, and they are rolling actually across the same, or along the same conveyor belt. So they share a lot of components, but from the exterior design, of course, they are totally different. So we start at the front end, and it's good news here, I have to say. I mean, the car looks, again, very friendly, very smiling. We have here the blinkers. They give the appearance of eyebrows. So this is an eye with an eyebrow, very nice. We have here the daytime running lights, LEDs with 4 digits, 4 bulbs. And here we have the fog lights in the rear section of the front bumper, and although there is no engine behind that, there is still a grille that gives the impression of an engine behind that. But as we have seen, we have just reservoirs for water and cooling, for coolants, and the battery, nothing else. So coming to the side silhouette of the new Renault Twingo, it becomes obviously at first glance that it's not longer a front-wheel drive car, because the front overhang here is really reduced to the absolute maximum. Following, we have, by the way, this is a very well-equipped car. It's actually the best equipped car. It's the Luxe version, and it's also equipped with some options. One of these options is the so-called body kit here, with these side bumpers, the covers for the rear view mirrors in red, and then this very spectacular striping here. There are different stripings available for the Twingo. Most of them are not as broad as this one, they are much smaller. This one is the broadest, the widest, and it emphasizes, or it visualizes this sideline of the car very nicely. And here we can see It looks at first, you think it's a two-door car, but here we have the grab handle hidden in the seat pillar. So, and now it becomes a four-door car. And we have, like in the Citroën Cactus, for example, no electric or powered rear window, but you have to open it manually. The wheels and tires of this car are 16-inch light alloys, which is optional. The standard car comes with 15-inch. And we have here very fat tires for a Twingo, 205/45 R16. And in the front they are smaller, I can tell you. Let's have a look. 185/50 R16. And this is very unique. Normally this mixed rubber you only find at a Porsche, for example, but at such a small car than the Twingo, that's very exceptional. The new Twingo looks a little bit like the Fiat 500 actually, although the Fiat 500 is a front-wheel driven car, but the proportions and the shape here are pretty similar. There's also some resemblance to the Renault 5, the historic Renault. It was very popular in the 1970s. But coming to the tailgate, I think they have done a pretty nice job here, because these tail lights are flush with the bodywork and with the black tinted glass of the tailgate. I think this is maybe one of the prettiest areas of the new Twingo. Here, this is only fake, of course, but that gives a little bit of an indication that there is an engine behind that, and we can see in a few seconds how the engine is first of all hidden from our views, because first you have this insulation layer, which you know from other cars as well, and then in addition you have this plastic cover again, a second one, and we unscrewed it with these 6 bolts here. It's very easy to unscrew it, and now we can tell you the engine bay is open. By the way, we know from some other Renaults that you have to push here this Renault logo. No reaction here. So where is the grab handle for the tailgate? It's not here either. Nothing here. Let's have a look. Ah, here it is. One more time. Ah, here it is. We have the same in the Smart forfour then, and this here is one of 2 3-liter petrol engines that are available for the start of the Twingo. There won't be a diesel again, because diesel is not very popular in these type of cars in Europe. I think only 6% of all customers go for a diesel, so Renault said we cancel that, we discontinue that, we only go for petrol, and we go for 3 cylinders. We have a 71 normally aspirated engine, which we can't recommend. With this engine the car really feels underpowered. Much better is this turbocharged 90 horsepower 3-cylinder, 0.9 liters only, 900 cubic centimeters, very small engine, and it accelerates the car in 10.8 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, and the maximum speed is 165 k's. The torque is 135 Newton meters at 2,500 RPM. By the way, if the car needs some maintenance, or the engine needs some maintenance, the mechanics in the workshop can lower the engine to the bottom by 15 centimeters. I think this is a very practical solution, so they can work better on the engine in areas which are not easily accessible. So if you see, that is a very neat design, but we come to the main disadvantage of this now, because the luggage compartment in the old Twingo was 11 liters larger than in this one, so it's a little bit less space, and this is a tribute to the rear mounted engine. So we are of course very curious to see if there is any luggage space in the front end portion of the new Renault Twingo. Let's have a look what's underneath that cover here, that engine cover. It's not an engine cover, it looks like. So you have a look here, you have to first unlock it here, and then you can take this cover, move it slightly forward up to this position. So that's the maximum. And what do you see here? Different reservoirs for brake fluid, cooling for the engine, and then water for the windscreen wipers, and also the battery. And there's no luggage whatsoever underneath this front hood. So you have to be happy with that what's in the rear. So we are now discovering a little bit the interior of this very cheeky, funny Twingo. As you can already see, there's a lot of color here. A lot of color in the seats, on the dashboard. But let me first draw your attention to this piece here. It's a little handbag that you can use for smaller items, or in this case the manual of the car. And you can take it with you out of the car, and when you come back, this is part of an optional package called the Flexi Case package. It fits exactly here where normally in the standard car the open glove box is. It's very nicely padded, very soft. It's no problem in the case of an accident. Your knees hit this panel here. Is very soft, and I think it's a very, very French way again. Very French way to have intelligent storage space and luggage areas in the car. Furthermore, here this is also a piece of the Lux equipment, this aluminum gear shifter, very nice. And the color theme here is an anodized red. So we have this very broad decoration strip that goes all the way down from the central gauge here. In this case is only a tachometer. We have no ref counter in the Twingo. And it goes all around here, the multimedia screen. Repeated around the air vents, the outer air vents. We have only 2 air vents and a third one here with the hazard light, warning light. Well, and then the seats, I think, are really an eye-catcher in this car, especially. We have integral headrests, so it's one unit, the whole seat. And we have here a color theme that repeats exactly the theme from the exterior with this white and red stripes. But I have to say the seats look better than they actually are. The side support during cornering here is very modest. As you can see, there is virtually no bolstering here. There's a little bit here in the shoulder area, it's a little bit better, but overall they look better than they actually are. But for a city car, they are fine. Also the steering wheel I like very much in this Twingo. Again, here we have these anodized surfaces at the spokes here. And then here at the bottom end it's shaped a little bit like on sports cars or racing cars, so it's not a full circle. Very nice feature as well. I think there is some love of detail in this interior, definitely, and much better than in the second generation car, by the way, which had its instruments, as you may recall, here in this area, in the center area. Now Renault has moved them back again into the driver's view. With 3 meters and 59 centimeters of length, the new Twingo is 10 centimeters shorter than the Twingo 2. On the other hand, the wheelbase has grown by 13 centimeters to 2 meter 49 meters. And that translates into an extra leg room and knee room. Renault claims that the knee room is 13.6 centimeters. And as you can see, I think it's not a very extremely roomy car, but you can travel with 4 passengers for quite a while here. But there is a problem here with the seat surface. I believe it's much too short. Though I have very short, relatively short upper legs, they are hanging in the air here, so it's not very comfortable indeed. And at least I can put my feet under the front seat, so that gives you some valuable extra millimeters of space. So we are now on the motorway between Cologne and the former German capital of Bonn here. It's a 3-lane highway of the Twingo. First I want to mention that you sit very nicely in the car, you have a very good visibility. 8 pillars are not too broad, quite slim. You also sit a little bit higher than normal, so this is perfect. The rear view is a bit cramped due to the broad C-pillars. What we also notice here now, and we're driving 140 km per hour on the clock, is quite a bit of wind noise here in the area of the windscreen and the A-pillar. We also expect, if there would be some crosswinds, that the car reacts a little bit more sensitive than a car with the engine in the front. It's normal for a car with more weight in the back that it reacts a little bit more nervous if there is crosswind. So we are now trying to reach the maximum speed of the Twingo. We are now accelerating to 160 km per hour. In front of us is a smart forfour, which is amazingly quick. It's now moving. The needle is now nearly close to 170 kilometers. So I think what Renault claims with the 165 is true. So now we have to slow down because there's a speed limit here. Well, in the town before, we noticed that the engine has a very nice, aggressive and sporty sound, and also the acceleration is really beefy. And as I said earlier, we should not recommend, or we don't recommend the normally aspirated engine only if you drive 90% of your time in the city, transporting the kids to school or to the gym, like many mums do. And actually 75% of all customers of the Twingo are female drivers, women. And for them, if they drive only in the neighborhood or in the city, probably the normally aspirated engine is fine, but for us, we would go for the 900cc 3-cylinder turbo. The fuel tank of the new Twingo only has a capacity of 35 liters. So if we believe our indicator here at the moment, we are at 8 liters per 100 kilometers. Okay, we have just done this high-speed test on the motorway, but even if it goes down to 7 liters or so, the range of the car is limited to 400-450 kilometers. But again, as it is a city car, that shouldn't be a major issue. By the way, the steering for our taste is a bit too light and doesn't give a lot of feeling to the road. We would like to see the steering a little bit more heavier, of course not too heavy, but it feels like in a Fiat or Opel you have this city button that you can press, which is always helpful in parking situations, but in normal driving the steering here is too light. Please, Renault, retune that. Can't sell even a small car like the Twingo without an infotainment system, and actually Renault offers two systems. This is the high version, it costs around 1,000 euro extra, and it comes as a package together with a sound package, the rear view camera and the sensors for parking, the parking sensors. And the rear view camera, we have a slight criticism here. As you can see, this image of the rear view camera doesn't fill the full screen, only 2/3 of it, and also here is something lacking. We don't know why that is, we will find out probably later, but thus the image is a little bit small. So concerning gearboxes, at the moment there is only one choice, so no alternative. You have to go for the 5-speed manual here, which shifts very nicely, by the way, very sporty operation, no problems at all in this case. If you want to go automatic, you have to wait a little bit until next year. Renault has promised to offer also a 6-speed double clutch automatic for the Twingo in the course of 2015. So we have now finished our little excursion with the new Renault Twingo 3rd generation, and our conclusion is mainly positive, although we still have some doubts whether the decision to switch to a rear-wheel drive configuration is really good, because I start now with the negatives. The luggage compartment is 11 liters smaller than on the outgoing model. You cannot, like in the old car, remove the rear bench. In the old car it was possible to adjust longitudinally both the seats, the rear seats. This is no longer possible. It's now a fixed rear bench, so it's another disadvantage. But now coming to the pros of this concept, you have a little bit more interior space in the rear in terms of knee room and knee clearance. And also the car is now a little bit shorter and more compact, and the best of all is of course this fantastic turning radius of just 8.6 meters, which makes the car really a nice toy for the city. The steering, as we said, is very light. It should be retuned. The ride is good as long as the car is not occupied with 4 passengers and their luggage, and it becomes a little bit bumpy. And the engine, the turbocharged engine, has a good grunt, has a good sound as well, and makes good fun. We have to see how the fuel consumption goes. We expect it quite higher than the standard figure that Renault gives. Now let's come to the prices. This car is the luxe version, the most luxurious, as we have told you earlier, and it costs 13,590 euros. And it includes things like central locking here, a 50-50 partition of the rear bench, the rear view mirrors you can adjust electrically as well. It has the fog lights, it has a hill start assist, and it has the package here, the exterior package, and also the very practical solutions for stowage in the interior. And finally, also here, which we haven't seen before, haven't explained before, this camera here for the lane departure assistant, which is for a small car in the A segment also quite unique. But most of all, the good news is that the Twingo has again a lot of French charm. It smiles when it comes towards you. The proportions are similar to a Fiat 500, although it's a rear-wheel driven car, and you have a lot of choices in terms of these stripings and colors and wheels, and so individualization is pretty good, and we expect that the car will be a success. But we are very anxious to see if the 4th generation Twingo might go back to the front-wheel drive principle. There are already rumors that Nissan and Renault are considering this, but we have to wait and see. So thanks for your patience. Hope you enjoyed our test drive with the new Renault Twingo. Stay tuned with Autogefühl and see you next time around.